Okay, so we're back at the podcast from IPAN. I have here my new friend Clive, who how we met is yesterday at the workshop, and Clive tweeted all over the place how he loved it. So I just saw him, and he's such an honor to have here to so we can learn from you so much about the education. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell our folks and.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity to have a chat. So essentially, I'm an organisational coach, and I'm very fortunate to work across government, corporate and the education sector. So my background was in education, and when I first started to study coaching psychology and positive psychology being applied through coaching, it resonated me so strongly that this was something which would be really powerful to be taken back into the education sector. So over the last 4 or 5, 6 years, I've really been effortful in trying to find opportunities to share my learning back in educational settings.
Nice. So where do you take this? You know, we're doing this, festival of education, and the way I see it, and we learn, so much. But it lasts 28 days that we've been here. It sounds like 30 days, right? Yeah. But the way I see it, bringing education like everywhere, from little kids to high school to college to adults. Where's your biggest focus on education?
Okay, well, my biggest focus really is on actually the leadership and the teachers within the school.
Nice.
So even though I do workshops with young people on mental toughness and particularly on discovering their strengths, my work really stems around well-being and engagement and helping head teachers, senior leadership teams in schools, helping teachers themselves to recognise that often their own well-being is struggling. They're struggling with their own well-being, and actually they need to be taking some steps themselves to ensure that they're actually well, that they're flourishing at work, and then they're better able then to support their students. So really the common theme that underpins my work is really around well-being and engagement. I mean, I work with lots of people who have flourished, who've been very successful in their careers and jobs, but actually right now they're not doing that well. They're actually struggling in some way. And I think in what research tells us is over the lifespan, this is where it's very interesting with positive education, is that how much money we've got, how successful we are at work, our IQ, doesn't equate to flourishing over the lifespan.
Right.
What equates to flourishing is more likely to be being authentic, working to our character, having good relationships, etc., etc. And that's and we need to be getting that message as much through to teachers, educators, and parents as we do to children.
This is so wonderful, and it's been common theme today. Authenticity, character strength. Really work on yourself first, just like what the students tell us with your mask first, right? Yeah. And that's really important. And as a parents, right, to really be example, not just to tell our kids what to do, but
to talk.
Exactly.
Or as a leader, or as a manager, or as a chief executive. I mean, if you have a head teacher of a school who is burning out, who's stressed, who's frustrated, who's not necessarily working to his or her strengths, then that message is going to permeate through the organisation as well.
Yeah, that's really so important. I don't know if we do. I think it's so important what you said, because maybe I'm just not aware, but I don't know if we do enough training with teachers, parents, to make sure that they, not to teach the kids only, but make sure that the parents are aware, all right?
No, I think we don't. I mean, I think that I think in teacher training programs, how much time is spent in terms of teacher training, helping teachers to understand what it means to be well. What does it mean to flourish?
Right.
What is happiness? What is joy? What is passion? We had some of these conversations earlier on today. The difference between pleasure and hedonism, and eudaimonia and real well-being. When do those conversations happen? And I think they're beginning to happen more, but I still think they need to happen a great deal more.
Yeah, and you do this in UK?
I'm working all over the world, really. So I'm working a lot in Asia.
Wow.
I'm working with 12 international schools at the moment. In Europe and Asia, a bit of work still in Australia, but my base is now London, so I'm looking to do more work in Europe.
That's wonderful. I also do online training. So I have, almost like 20,000 registered online students, and I think about 135 countries or so.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, what can I tell from your experience, students, teachers, parents? I think you already summarized so much, but if there's anything more.
Yeah. I think identifying and working to your strengths is really important. One of the stories I tell is that I was 47 the first time I undertook the VIA character survey. The
Last year?
Yeah, I wish it was last year. Flattery. Anyway, but I was 47. And to be honest, it was a revelation to me that when I found out that my character strengths were gratitude, or my signature strengths were gratitude, hope, kindness, creativity, appreciation, beauty and excellence, these things had almost been beaten out of me. You know, as a manager and as a leader, I was told it was like weak to be kind. That you.
Yes, I was told that so many times.
And it's like, actually, that's who I am. And it took me I was 47 before I had myself almost affirmed or endorsed. And I've taken that as a very powerful message in terms of my own life, about, you know, working to my strengths and finding opportunities. And I heard Barbara Fredrickson talking in Angers at the European Positive Psychology Congress. And she talked about prioritizing positivity and how important it is on a daily basis for us to build in moments during the day when we can be positive. And one of the key methods that she talked about was what they call situational selection. How far are we selecting situations that allow us to experience positivity? So in my own life, what I've managed to do over the last maybe 7 or 8 years is create situations that allow me to experience positivity. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have my days and my times when I'm having to do things I don't want to do.
We all
I have
do.
the same stresses, the same struggles everybody else has. But I know that I'm in this amazing position because the majority of the time I'm engaged in activity that allows me to feel good about myself. Nice. And I think that if we can help, and that's not being big-headed, it's not being, I'm not special at all. But if I've learned that, then I think that's an important message to help other people to learn as well.
I think it's really great what you said. You know, you talk about, you know, how being nice. I remember, and without naming a company name, it's one of the largest financial company in the world. When they did the 360 on me, I was told officially by HR, who's now my great friend, we joke about this, that I am too nice. And that's the reason that I am not going as high as I should with my capabilities. And I wasn't going to change myself. That's who I am.
And if you look at some of the research that's come out of places like the University of Michigan, the Center for Positive Organizations, what constitutes thriving organizations across government, across not-for-profit, across corporate, it's high-quality connections. It's the relationships.
Number one predictor of happiness.
Yeah, absolutely, and successful organizations too. And yet so many organizations defined by silos and competition and guardedness and selfishness and you know, and it's which is crazy, isn't it? So.
So what would you recommend? I know I have definitely a lot of small business owners in my community, and some of them, you know, work as an executive large company, but small business owners. And since you work really across so many, you know, different, what would you recommend to these folks? If they have, you know, small business, maybe they work for themselves, maybe that's a couple of people working for them.
It's a hard one because I'm a small business myself, you know, well, I suppose I don't know. I suppose trying to do something that actually is a passion.
Yes.
I mean, going back to Angela Duckworth yesterday, interest, passion, purpose, hope. You know, I mean, they're all really
going back to grit.
You know, going back to sort of what helps us to persist and what helps us to try to be the best we can. But also, I think if you're a small business owner, is it Robert Ballaran's work on harmonious passion and obsessive passion, because we can overdo it, and we can all be guilty of that. So, as a small business owner in an SME, the fact is that we've got a huge amount invested in what we do.
Yes.
And I have to look after my own well-being too, and I have to switch it off sometimes. You know, and I think that's a really important message that we need to remind people. And it's okay to do that. We can't. You know, we can't be at the top of our game all the time. We've got to give ourselves time to take a little bit of a step back.
Thank you for saying that, because a lot of us, we just think we have to be on top of the game all the time. And unless we give time to ourselves,
And is that good enough? Am I good enough? You know?
Talbot Shahar always talks about that.
You know, I'm watching you yesterday, and there you are doing your stuff. I do my stuff. I see it, and then Anthony Selden does his stuff, and it's like, oh my God, I can't compare myself to Anthony Selden. But am I good enough? And I believe I do the best I can.
I think that's really great, because you know, I used to teach. I was globally certified Dale Carnegie trainer and business coach for years, and again for fun, once a week for my calling. Wasn't job, wasn't career. And I used to always tell people, because they would come in day 1 or week 1, and then at week 12, they would try to compare themselves with other people. And I say, you can only compare yourself with yourself. So like comparing yourself today from year ago.
Am I getting better? Am I getting more confident? Am I getting more grounded?
That's it.
Am I able to be more present? I completely agree.
Right.
Because to say there's always someone bigger, there's always someone better.
We all have a different skills, different characters, and different environment we grew up. So
I think
just
that's
compare. Perfect. And maybe we just close with like one thing or two that we learn that you would pick up from the positive education that you might take with you, maybe apply with folks that you train, and or to tell the audience what is it that they can pick up from what we learn that they can apply.
Okay. Hope. I think coaching. I mean, I'm a coach, so I probably would say this, wouldn't I? But I think that what I'm hearing is that I think Angela Duckworth's presentation, particularly on grit and persistence, resonates so well with the idea of coaching and finding people to talk to say, actually, these are my aspirations, these are my dreams. How can I, I have an aspiration to be here? But I know that today we can make small steps towards those. But you've got to take the action. And I think that having, what's always being affirmed to me is the fact that the space for coaching is really, really powerful. And I would recommend anybody who really wants to be successful in whatever their field is to get a coach, is to have a coach, get help, and use that space to do some of the reflection that we've been talking about.
Thank you so much. I think that's wonderful advice. We all need and should have a coach. We all need somebody to help us in certain areas of our life. And even if that means, if you can't afford it, means a friend that you can trust, right?
You share.
Exactly.
But it's essential, I think. So.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Pleasure meeting this discussion. Thanks, folks.